two brothers. Same house, same parents, same schools, same careers, nearly identical salaries their entire working lives. At 65, one of them never checks prices at restaurants. The other one works part-time at a hardware store because his Social Security check doesn't cover his bills. Same starting line, completely different finish. And the gap between them wasn't created by luck, by inheritance, or by some brilliant investment strategy one of them discovered. It was created in a single decade. 10 years that most people sleepwalk through without realizing what's actually at stake. I want to talk to you today about the most financially consequential decade of your life. And if you're in it right now, or approaching it, what I'm about to share could genuinely change the shape of everything that comes after. Let's start with a number that might surprise you. $1 invested at age 40 becomes approximately $4 by retirement at 65. That same dollar invested at 50 becomes about $2.50. At 55, roughly $2. The math doesn't lie, and it doesn't negotiate. The compounding multiplier drops fast with every year that passes, and your 40s represent the last window where that multiplier still has real power. But here's what makes this decade truly different. It's not just about compounding. It's about three forces colliding at exactly the same time, and this alignment never happens again. First, your income. For most professionals, peak earning power arrives somewhere between 42 and 55. The raises of your 30s slow down, but the absolute dollars are higher than they've ever been. A 45-year-old earning $120,000 has more raw material for wealth building than at any previous point in their career. Second, your expenses. By your 40s, many of the costs that were expanding throughout your 30s begin to stabilize. The house fits your budget now. The furniture is bought. The career wardrobe is established. Children are becoming more independent. This creates margin, real financial breathing room, that simply didn't exist before. Third, remaining time. 20 to 25 years until traditional retirement. Enough time for serious compounding to work, but not so much time that delay feels consequence-free. Peak income. Stabilizing expenses, meaningful compounding window. These three forces align once. In your 40s, the person who captures that alignment builds lasting wealth. The person who misses it faces a mathematical reality that cannot be fixed later, no matter how hard they try. Let me show you exactly what that looks like in numbers, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Imagine two people who both reach 40 with $100,000 saved. Same income of $110,000. Same starting point in every way. Person A saves 15% consistently from 40 to 65, invested in diversified index funds at historical average returns. By retirement, they've accumulated approximately $1.35 million. Person B saves only 5% through their 40s, then panics at 50 and jumps to 15% for the remaining 15 years. Despite the correction, they retire with approximately $780,000. That's a $570,000 gap, created entirely by 1 decade of reduced contributions. Not by bad investments, not by financial disasters, just by a quieter, slower drift. The kind that doesn't feel dangerous while it's happening. And here's the scenario that should keep you up at night. Person C reaches 40 with the same $100,000, but spends their 40s expanding their lifestyle. Bigger house, nicer cars, better vacations, and drops contributions to just 2%. At 50, reality sets in. They push hard, saving 20% aggressively for the next 15 years. They retire with $590,000. The aggressive correction helped, but the gap from consistent saving? $760,000 gone. Not recoverable. The decade of comfort cost $750,000 in retirement wealth, and no amount of catching up could close it. Now I want to walk you through the specific decisions that create this gap, because none of them feel dramatic when you're making them. The first one is housing. Your 40s bring a powerful, entirely understandable urge to upgrade your living situation. The kids need more space. You've worked hard and you want a home that reflects that. The payments feel manageable on your current income. So, families upgrade, often from something like a $350,000 home to a $600,000 home. And the monthly cost rises by $1,500 to $2,000. That $1,800 per month feels like a housing decision. It's actually a retirement decision. That annual difference, invested over the 25 years from 40 to 65, compounds to somewhere between $900,000 and $1.3 million in retirement wealth. The house upgrade costs $1 million, not in sticker price. In what that money could have become. I want to be clear. I'm not saying no one should ever buy a larger home. I'm saying most people make this decision without understanding its true cost. They think they're spending more on housing. They're trading retirement security for square footage, and they won't feel the full weight of that trade for 20 years. The second decision is vehicles. Your 40s often bring more expensive cars. The practical sedan becomes a luxury vehicle. The reliable SUV becomes something prestigious. A family running two $45,000 vehicles instead of two $28,000 vehicles carries more debt, pays higher insurance, and faces steeper repair costs. Over the course of a decade, that vehicle premium quietly costs somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 in retirement wealth, depending on how frequently cars are replaced. The third decision is children's education. The college years hit hard during your 40s, and the pressure to give your children every advantage is real and deeply human. But some families take on six-figure parent loans to fund prestigious universities. Others stop retirement contributions entirely during the college years. Others quietly drain retirement accounts. The children graduate into their peak earning decades with their whole careers ahead of them. The parents enter their 50s with depleted accounts and barely a decade to recover. The families who navigate this without sacrificing their future are the ones who have honest, sometimes uncomfortable conversations. About state universities, about merit scholarships, about what their children can contribute through work or loans. Not because they love their children less, but because they understand that bankrupting retirement to fund education helps no one in the long run. The fourth decision is career risk tolerance. Your 40s present real opportunities. Senior roles at new companies, industries where your experience commands a premium, strategic moves that could significantly accelerate income. And yet many people become more risk-averse in their 40s precisely when strategic risk still has time to pay off. By 50, hiring discrimination begins, affecting opportunities. The window for income acceleration starts to close. The person who takes a calculated career risk at 43 has time to recover if it doesn't work out. The person who waits until 53 often doesn't. The income difference between staying comfortable and pursuing growth can exceed $30,000 to $40,000 annually. Over a decade, that's $300,000 to $400,000 in additional earnings. The fifth decision, and perhaps the quietest one, is lifestyle inflation. Your 40s bring social pressure to display success. Colleagues take elaborate vacations. Neighbors renovate. Friends buy boats. Some families maintain the lifestyle that felt comfortable in their late 30s and redirect every dollar of increased income toward the future. Others absorb every raise into visible consumption without noticing it happening. The retirement outcome difference between these two paths typically exceeds $1 million. Here's where I want to introduce you to two families, because numbers alone don't fully capture what's at stake. David and Christine were 40 with $185,000 saved, a modest home, 2 kids, and a combined income of $165,000. By every measure, they were doing well. David pushed to upgrade their home. Christine hesitated but eventually agreed. The new mortgage added $1,650 to their monthly costs, so they reduced retirement contributions temporarily, from 15% to 6%, just temporarily. 2 years later, David's car needed replacing. He'd earned something nicer. The new SUV added $680 per month. Christine's car followed a year later. The children's high school years brought tutoring, sports training, college visits. Their daughter enrolled at an out-of-state university. Rather than asking her to choose a more affordable option, they took a parent loan. At no point did David and Christine feel financially reckless. Every individual decision seemed reasonable, even responsible. By 50, their retirement accounts held $240,000, just $55,000 more than they'd had a decade earlier, despite 10 years of contributions and market returns. By 65, aggressive late saving brought them to $685,000. It felt significant until they ran the projections. They'd likely run out of money by 82. The house would need to be sold. Expenses would need to be dramatically cut. Work would continue well into their 70s. Now, let me tell you about Robert and Jennifer. At 40, Robert and Jennifer had $165,000 saved, 2 children aged 11 and 8, and a combined income of $155,000. Almost identical to David and Christine in every way. Robert suggested a home upgrade. Jennifer pushed back. She'd thought carefully about what a housing decision of that scale actually meant for their future. They stayed. The $1,650 that would have gone to a larger mortgage flowed directly into retirement accounts instead. When Robert's car needed replacing, they bought a 3-year-old certified pre-owned vehicle. When college approached, they sat down with their children and had an honest conversation about costs. Both kids attended state universities with merit scholarships. Throughout their 40s, Robert and Jennifer felt the social friction. Their lifestyle looked modest compared to their peers. They were swimming against the current that David and Christine had simply moved with. By 50, their retirement accounts held $580,000. By 65, $1.65 million. Their house paid off, retirement fully funded, travel planned, grandchildren supported. The mathematical difference between these two families wasn't created by different incomes or superior investment strategies. It was created entirely by different decisions during the same decade. And here's what I find most striking about both stories. Research consistently shows that lifestyle upgrades provide temporary happiness, typically lasting 18 to 24 months, before the new normal sets in. David and Christine did not actually enjoy their 40s more than Robert and Jennifer. They simply spent more. The additional spending provided no lasting satisfaction while permanently constraining the decades that followed. This is the trap that captures most people. The feeling that after 20 years of working, you finally earned the right to live at the level of your income. The impulse is entirely understandable, but the gratification available through lifestyle expansion provides temporary pleasure followed by permanent limitation. The upgraded house is exciting for 18 months. Then it's just home, while the retirement impact is permanent. True gratification, the kind that lasts, comes from converting peak earning years into permanent freedom. The discomfort of resisting lifestyle inflation in your 40s lasts 10 years. The reward lasts 30 or more. The pleasure of indulgence lasts 2 or 3 years. The consequence also lasts 30 or more. Let me speak directly to wherever you are right now. If you're in your 20s or 30s, you have something genuinely valuable, the gift of knowing this in advance. You now understand that your 40s will come with enormous social pressure to expand exactly when expansion is most expensive. Build the habits now. Establish automatic contributions you never reduce. Define what enough looks like before your income makes excess possible. If you're entering your 40s, you're standing at the most important financial inflection point of your life. Audit every major expense category right now. Is your housing decision driving your retirement decisions? Are your vehicles transportation or statements? Is retirement funding happening before lifestyle expansion? Every yes to visible success is a no to future freedom. If you're in your late 40s and you recognize yourself in the wrong story, you still have time to shift trajectory. Every percentage point added to your savings rate now matters. Consider options your peers won't. Downsizing now rather than in retirement, restructuring vehicles, pursuing income growth even when it requires change. If you're already past your 40s with less saved than you'd hoped, focus on what remains within your control. Delay claiming Social Security to maximize those benefits. Consider working a few additional years. Look at housing equity as a tool rather than just a home. I want you to picture yourself at 70. The morning is quiet. In one version of that morning, you're thinking about which grandchild you'll visit this month or which trip you've been putting off that you're finally ready to take. Unexpected expenses don't threaten your stability. Time is yours. In the other version, you're calculating whether this month's check covers medications and property taxes. You're worried about what happens if the car breaks down. The options feel narrow. Both versions of you made their 40s decisions decades earlier. Both are simply living with the compound interest on those decisions. Not the financial kind, but the consequence kind. Which version you become is determined almost entirely by what you do in the 10 years between 40 and 50. Not by luck, not by income level, by decisions about housing, vehicles, education, career, and lifestyle that stack silently on each other the way money compounds in a retirement account. Your 40s will end. The decade passes whether you make intentional choices or default ones. The only question is which version of your 70-year-old self you're building right now. If this conversation landed with you today, if something here made you think differently about a decision you're currently facing or about to face, I'd genuinely love to know. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Tell me which part of this hit closest to your own situation. I read every comment, and hearing from viewers across the world is what keeps this channel focused on the conversations that actually matter. If this is the kind of content you want more of, honest, grounded, no promises, no shortcuts, then subscribe and share this with someone in their 40s who needs to hear it. Not to alarm them, just to give them what you now have, the chance to see the decision clearly before the decade runs out.